Hi everyone, it's me again, Joseph. Have you ever heard of the Catacombs? In today's episode of Catechism for Kids, we're going to answer the question, what are the catacombs? The catacombs are the ancient underground cemeteries used by the Christian and the Jewish communities in Rome. The Christian catacombs, which are the most numerous, began in the 2nd century, and the excavating continued until the first half of the 5th. In the beginning, they were only burial places. Here the Christians gathered to celebrate their funeral rites, the anniversaries of the martyrs and of the dead. During the persecutions, in exceptional cases, the catacombs were used as places of momentary refuge for the celebration of the Eucharist. They were not used as secret hiding places of the early Christians. This is only a fiction taken from novels or movies. After the persecutions, especially in the time of Pope St. Damasus 366-384, they became real shrines of the martyrs, centers of devotion and of pilgrimage for Christians from every part of the empire. In those days in Rome, there existed cemeteries in the open, but the Christians preferred underground cemeteries. First of all, the Christians rejected the pagan custom of cremation and preferred burial, just as Christ was buried because they felt they had to respect the bodies that one day would rise from the dead. This genuine belief of the Christians created a problem of space, which exerted a great influence upon the development of the catacombs. The areas owned by the Christians above ground were very limited. Had they used only open-air cemeteries, since they, as a rule, did not reuse the tombs? The space available for burial would have quickly been exhausted. The catacombs came as the solution of the problem, and it proved to be economical, safe, and practical. In fact, it was cheaper to dig underground corridors and galleries than to buy large pieces of land in the open. As the early Christians were predominantly poor, this way of burying the dead was decisive. There were other reasons, too, for choosing the underground digging. Christians felt a lively community sense. They wished to be together even in the sleep of death. Furthermore, such out-of-the-way areas, especially during the persecutions, were very apt for reserved community meetings and for the free displaying of the Christian symbols. In the 1st century, Rome's Christians did not have their own cemeteries. If they owned land, they buried their relatives there. Otherwise, they resorted to common cemeteries, where pagans too were buried. That is how St. Peter came to be buried in the great public necropolis City of the Dead on Vatican Hill, available to everybody. Likewise, St. Paul was buried in a necropolis along the Via Ostiense. In the first half of the 2nd century, as a result of various grants and donations, the Christians started burying their dead underground. That is how the catacombs were founded. Many of them began and developed around family tombs whose owners, newly converted Christians, they did not reserve them to the members of the family, but opened them to their brethren in the faith. Catacombs, although most notable as underground passageways and cemeteries, also house many decorations. There are thousands of decorations in the centuries-old catacombs of Rome, Paris, and other sites, some of which include inscriptions, paintings, statues, ornaments, and other items placed in the graves over the years. Most of these decorations were used to identify, immortalize, and show respect for the dead. The catacombs of Rome were primarily decorated with images and words exalting Christ, or depicting scenes from the Old and New Testaments of the Bible. Much of the sculpture work and art, other than engravings on the walls or tombs, has been preserved in places such as the Museum of St. John Lateran, Christian Museum of Berlin University, and the Vatican. 3 representations of Christ as Orpheus charming animals with peaceful music have been found in the catacombs of Domitilla and St. Callista. Another figure was made of gilded glass and dates back to the 4th century, featuring Jesus with the world balanced in his hand and a scroll at his feet. Although thousands of inscriptions were lost as time passed, many of those remaining indicate the social rank or job title of its inhabitants. However, most of the inscriptions simply indicate how loving a couple was, or the love of parents and such. A common and particularly interesting one found in Roman catacombs is the ichthys, or monogram of Christ, which reads Iota Chi Theta Upsilon Sigma, standing for Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. Now, the most famous catacombs are the ones located beneath the city of Rome in Italy. There are also catacomb-like burial chambers in Anatolia, Turkey, in Sousse, Tunisia, in Syracuse, Italy, Trier, Germany, Kyiv, Ukraine, Capuchin, catacombs of Palermo, Sicily, were used as late as the 1920s. Catacombs were available in some of the grander English cemeteries founded in the 19th century, such as Sheffield General Cemetery above ground and West Norwood Cemetery below ground. There are catacombs in Bulgaria near Alaja Monastery, and in Romania as medieval underground galleries in Bucharest. In Ukraine and Russia, catacomb used in the local languages plural catacombia also refers to the network of abandoned caves and tunnels earlier used to mine stone, especially limestone. The catacombs are an important part of the history of the early church. They show us how brave the first followers of Jesus were. Even though they faced a lot of danger and hardship, they didn't stop believing in Jesus. They kept meeting together to pray and celebrate the Eucharist no matter what. Before we go, don't forget to ask your grown-up to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends so they can learn about Jesus too. And we'll see you next time. God bless you always.